If you don't know what AI governance is and how to structure it, then this video is for you. So I'll show you what are the four most important elements of AI governance, meaning risks and controls, goals and objectives, policies and procedures, and roles and responsibilities. And I'll also show you where you can find a free online course to learn more about AI governance. So after you watch this video, you'll have a clear idea on what are the crucial elements of AI governance that you need to start building. AI governance basically means that you have to set clear rules and guardrails on how AI systems are being developed, used, and so on throughout their AI lifecycle. But how do you actually know which of these guardrails or rules actually to apply? How do you know who will do what as part of this managing of these AI systems? How do you know if AI systems are actually achieving something that is meaningful for the business? So let's start first with how do you actually choose these guardrails or controls. And this is where this concept of assessing risks and then applying appropriate controls to decrease those risks, this is where it comes into play. So let's see some common risks of AI systems. For example, one risk is bias. And this could be, for example, if you have AI system in banks that approves loans, that this AI systems prefers, for example, people of a certain ethnicity or maybe people who live in certain neighborhoods over some other people. Of course, this is a bad consequence that needs to be resolved. There could also be a risk for privacy, so that let's say the things that you're entering into whatever chat application you're using, that this could be used as training data for this large language model, and then that this same data actually surfaces to some other users. Another risk could be hallucinations. For example, that customer support chatbot offers let's say a 30% discount on a particular product, whereas this discount doesn't really exist in the reality. Now, how do you deal with these kind of risks? For this example of a bias in a bank, you might also have this human oversight before a final decision about the loan is being made. For the data leakage risk, you could use, for example, language models that are controlled on your server rather than using third-party language models that are available. In this case, none of the data that is entered into this language model leaves actually the control of your company. For this hallucination risk, in this example of this customer chatbot, you could actually have data input checks where you actually do not allow certain questions to be asked, but you could also have data output checks before actually this answer is displayed to a user. So as you can see, one of the core concepts of AI governance is to analyze what kind of risks you will have with the usage of these AI systems, and then think thoroughly through how you will resolve these risks by introducing guardrails, by introducing various controls. Then the second element of AI governance is to know exactly what you want to achieve with these AI systems. And typically the overall goal of using AI systems is to actually achieve trustworthiness, so that all the stakeholders believe in what AI systems are doing. But if you want to break down this, let's say, general, more ambiguous goal into something more concrete, you need to set certain objectives. And these objectives could be accountability, privacy, security, robustness, availability, safety, transparency, and so on. And it is important that you set these objectives in the very beginning of your AI governance, so that all the people working on this future AI governance actually know what they need to achieve. The third element is that you actually develop these policies and procedures, in other words, internal rules on how actually people in your company have to deal with AI systems. Why is this necessary? Because when you think about it, when you actually start developing all of these controls based on risks, you will see that there are many things that you have to do, and on top of this you will have numerous AI systems in your company, and you will have numerous people who actually have to deal with all of them. So without actually writing down all of these rules, it will be almost impossible, even for a smaller company, let alone some large company, it will be really difficult for everyone to actually act in the same way when it comes to managing AI systems. And you might have different documents for that purpose. One typical document that you would normally write is this top-level AI governance policy, which defines these, let's say, general objectives, general goals that you want to achieve, and also some main roles and responsibilities in a company. But you will probably have some other documents like AI risk management policy, where you actually describe how this risk management and selection of controls is happening. You might have AI data management policy, where you describe how you actually source data that is used for training your AI systems, and basically how you check the data quality and all of these things. You might have AI design and development policy, so basically what are the processes of, let's say, defining the requirements for AI systems, what what kind of technologies can be used, what kind of project management techniques are used, and so on. You might also have AI acceptable use policy, where you define for every employee in the company, what is allowed and what is not allowed when it comes to usage of AI systems, and so on and so forth. The bigger the company is, probably the more of these documents there will be. Now, of course, without clear roles and responsibilities, none of these policies and procedures will work, which brings me to this fourth key element of AI governance. So here, for example, you will have senior management, and they need to provide this, I would say, overall direction of what they want to achieve with AI technology in the company. They need to provide resources for managing AI systems. They need to assign roles and responsibilities within the company. Second, you'll probably have a person who will need to coordinate all of these activities related to AI governance. This could be, I don't know, AI officer, or this could be, let's say, your CTO, Chief Technology Officer, who also acts as this AI coordinator. Of course, you will also have middle management, so let's say heads of the departments, and these people will have to participate in writing of all of these policies and procedures, because you don't want actually to write some documents which makes no sense for your particular departments. And also these same managers will then be in charge of actually enforcing all of these rules within your company, because you don't want to write documents which no one actually cares about, and this is where middle management is really important. And then you would have, of course, all employees that would actually have to comply with all of these policies and procedures that you have published. In other words, AI governance is not a job of one person, it's basically a job for everyone in the company. Now, all of these things that I mentioned might seem overwhelming, and you're probably right. But actually, there is this standard called ISO 42001. This is an international standard that is recognized in all countries of the world. And this standard actually describes how you build AI governance in your company, how actually to combine all of these things that I mentioned. And just like ISO 27001 has become the main standard for cybersecurity governance, the same thing is happening now with ISO 42001 for AI governance. And let me now show you briefly a free course where you can learn the details of ISO 42001. Okay, I'm showing you now this ISO 42001 Foundations course from Advisera, and here you can see some basic info about the course. And as you can see here, you can actually go for this online course completely for free. You can go through all the lessons for free, and we charge only if you go for this certification exam. Anyway, let me show you the curriculum. So what are the lessons? So here you will see some basic lessons about the standard, but more importantly here you have this introduction to artificial intelligence management system. So basically this is about AI governance, how to implement this according to this PDCA cycle, how to implement the standard as a project, what kind of documents do you need, benefits, these kind of things, but also a couple of things about the AI itself. So AI terminology, machine learning, neural networks, main components of an AI system, and also AI system lifecycle. And then module 2 and further explain each and every clause from the standard, and basically these are the building blocks of AI governance. So for example, understanding the context of the organization, then interested parties, scope, these kind of things. Here you actually see the role of the senior management. Here you actually have a lesson about the roles and responsibilities, here about the resources, here about the documents and records. So basically the course goes through each and every clause from the standard, and by that actually explains you how to organize AI governance in a systematic way. Module 3 is about risk management. So basically how to define the process, methodology, how you list the risks, how you analyze the level of impact and likelihood, how you actually find the appropriate controls, how to set objectives, and so on. And then there is module 4 about how to implement the whole system, module 5 how to monitor and measure, and then module 6 is actually listing all of the Annex A controls. So basically controls through which you decrease these risks, and there are 38 controls, and they're explained here through these lessons. So some of the more interesting ones are how to assess the impact of AI systems, how you define this guidance on AI system development, AI system lifecycle and controls for each and every phase in the lifecycle, how you treat the training data for AI systems, how you deal with the customers and suppliers, the controls for regular use of AI, and again some controls related to third parties and customers. Okay, hope this was helpful, and let me know in the comments below if you have any questions about AI governance, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And to access this ISO 42001 Foundations course that I was showing you, click the link in the description below, and you'll be able to open this free student account and actually go through all the videos without any payment. And see also my next video, which explains in more detail the steps that are actually needed to implement AI governance according to ISO 42001. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel not to miss any of my new videos, and I publish videos about AI governance and cybersecurity governance every week. Thanks for watching!